Hello students, good morning all of you. Today I Ravindra Mohan Mishra from Sri Jagdamba Sanskrit College Batho am taking the class of Shastri second. We have earlier seen the summary of Act second of scene first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Now today we see the summary of scene second, act second, scene 7 of the play The Merchant of Venice. This scene shifts at Portia's palace in Belmont. We again find Portia with the Prince of Morocco. We finally get the details of her father's scheme for picking her suitor. There are three chests made of gold, silver, and lead respectively, each with an inscription. Inside one chest is a picture of Portia. If a shooter chooses the chest with the picture, he can have the girl. Otherwise, he dies old and alone. The Prince of Morocco undertakes the challenge left by Portia's father. Now that he knows all the rules, the Prince of Morocco set about choosing a chest. He goes over each of the inscriptions and reasons to himself. The lead chest asks the man who chooses it to risk everything. The prince decides he would not risk everything or anything really for plain old lead. He has to choose between three caskets or chests, one made of gold, one of silver, one of lead. One of the chests contains a portrait of Portia, and if the shooter chooses this chest, he can certainly marry with Portia. If he chooses the wrong chest, then he goes home in shame. Each chest is inscribed with a hint. In this scene, we find that Morocco prince is seen all set to choose one of the chests very eagerly. The Morocco prince is choosing between the caskets. The first casket was gold with the inscription, "Who chooses me shall gain what many men desire." The prince comes upon the gold casket with the inscription telling him that the box contains what many men want. The second one was silver with the inscription, "Who chooses me shall get as much as he deserves." The silver box has an inscription stating that the casket contains what he deserves. The last one was lead with the inscription, "Who chooses me must give and hazard all he hath." Portia informs him that in one of them lies her picture. If he chooses well, he will be his along with the picture. Meanwhile, the dull lead box inscription warns that the man who chooses the box risks all that he has. The Prince of Morocco deliberates over the chest and their inscriptions. He finds the lead casket threatening and eliminating it right away. Then he thinks of what he may deserve, but he questions whether that extends to Portia, even though he believes he deserves much. He settled on the golden casket because he believes Portia is the thing many men desire. He also thinks the golden casket is the only one worthy to contain her image. After much analysis, the prince chooses the gold casket, for he knows that many men come to woo Portia and she is what they deserve. However, upon opening the casket, He finds a skull with a poem explaining why he had chosen incorrectly and a message cautioning against being seduced by outward appearance. All that glitters is not gold. Unfortunately, the prince has chosen unwisely. He is overcome with grief, but now he has to leave. With few words, he takes his leave of the scene, and Portia expresses relief at his failure. Portia is glad to see him go and hopes that any other like him choose incorrectly too. Portia thanks her stars and hopes that others like him are also unlucky. With the inscription on the casket, it becomes apparent that Portia's father has not entrusted his daughter's fate to a game of pure chance. The inscriptions provide clue to the location of her portrait, and the man who can figure out the clues correctly will be the one worthy of Portia's hand. The Prince of Morocco is not that man. He is seduced by the outward appearance of a gold casket, which is an ironic turn of events for a man whose first word in the play are mislike me not for my complexion. Even though he met Portia with an entreaty that he not judge him by his outward appearance, the statement also indicates his own preoccupation with outward appearances as evidenced by his choice of casket. Portia has judged the Prince of Morocco by his appearance as well. When he departs, he says, "Let all his complexion choose me so." Unlike the other shooters she dislikes, the Prince of Morocco is not actually as repellent as the drunken, fighting, inconstant lot that occupies her house. He has no evident character flaws beyond his ego, which is a sufficient reason for Portia to dislike him, but she never notices this. She has been unable to look beyond his complexion from the moment she met him, which is evident from the way her last line mirrors his first. Her prejudice has made her blind to any good points or flaws the prince many actually possesses. In contrast to the scene preceding this one, no, now we have another colorful and theatrical spectacle of yet another rich shooter who has come to try and outwit fortune and claim Portia for his bride. As Morocco inspects the caskets that will win her contain a miniature portrait of her, and all the caskets have inscriptions upon them, which Morocco reads for us. These inscriptions are important. Each succeeding shooter will reflect upon them, and as he does so, he will reveal the trust about his own character. The inscriptions are, of course, intentionally ambiguous. They can be interpreted in more than one way. Remembering that this is a romantic comedy, we expect that Morocco will misinterpret them as will arrogant later, and that finally Bassanio will read the inscriptions and interpret them correctly. We should remember as we read this scene that Portia herself at this point does not know which of the caskets will win her. As Morocco moves from one to the next, Portia will be reacting on a stage, silently revealing her thoughts, for she cannot guide Morocco. And we have some evidence for believing that Portia is not usually a quiet woman. He is postponing the moment of choice and prolonging the suspense of this dramatic moment. We have already seen Morocco and know that he is a proud and powerful prince, rich in his dress and is his language, and therefore it is no surprise to watch him move from the least beautiful and outwardly appealing of the caskets to the most beautiful. He has, he says, a golden mind. Thus, he makes the most straightforward and obvious choice. When he opens it and finds the skull and the scroll, Shakespeare's moral is clear, that is, wealth and sensory beauty, symbolizes here by gold, are merely transitory. We shall see later that the text of the caskets contains a theme that occurs elsewhere in the play. The difference between what merely seems and what really is, that is, the difference between appearance and reality. The casket also suggests another element in the play, namely the illusion that material wealth is of value when in reality it is of ultimately little value. Yet material wealth is Shylock's ovation, gold is his real god, and there in this tragic flow. In short, we conclude that these scenes have much impact upon one's character for looking not outwardly but looking inwardly. Again, this scene teaches us that showing is not sufficient but working or doing is much more sufficient. We should be cautious or alert by not of her complexion but by her good qualities or worse. Thanks.